Kennedy was 43 years old when he began his presidency, making him the youngest president in the history of the United States. His assassin, Harvey Oswald, declared that he did not shoot anyone and claimed that he was being used as a patsy. But let's dive into a comprehensive examination of the event. The assassination of John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, took place on Friday, November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. While riding in an open-top car with his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, he was shot in the face by Harvey Oswald. Kennedy was the fourth U.S. president to be assassinated. John F. Kennedy, after a brief stint in journalism around 1945, served as a representative for a Massachusetts district in Congress from 1947 to 1953. Subsequently, he was elected as a senator for Massachusetts, serving from 1953 to 1960. During his time in the Senate, he published Profiles in Courage, a book based on his observations during the war, which won the Pulitzer Prize in 1960. In the 1960 presidential election, he narrowly defeated his Republican opponent, Richard Nixon. Kennedy's youth and humor, along with his father's wealth and connections, greatly aided him in his campaign. He was born into a Kennedy family in Brookline, Massachusetts. He graduated from Harvard University in 1940. A year later, he joined the U.S. Navy Reserve and commanded a series of patrol torpedo boats in the Pacific Theater during World War II. Kennedy received the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for saving his own life and the lives of his crewmen after one of the patrol boats sank. The Kennedy administration was involved in many tensions with communist countries. As a result, he increased the number of U.S. military forces in South Vietnam. In April 1961, Kennedy authorized an operation to overthrow Fidel Castro's government in Cuba, which led to the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. In November of the same year, he issued the order for Operation Mongoose to target and remove communists from power in Cuba. Kennedy rejected the Operation Northwoods plan for execution in March 1962, but his administration continued to plan for a possible invasion of Cuba in the summer of 1962. In October of that year, U.S. spy planes discovered Soviet missile bases being constructed in Cuba. This discovery led to a period of intense tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, known as the Cuban Missile Crisis, which nearly escalated into a nuclear conflict. In October 1963, Kennedy signed the first nuclear weapons treaty with the Soviet Union. He also oversaw the establishment of the Peace Corps and Alliance for Progress in Latin America and continued the Apollo program with the goal of the landing of the first man on the moon before 1970. Kennedy supported the American Civil Rights Movement, though he was only partially successful in advancing his new frontier domestic policies. On November 22, 1963, Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. His vice president, Lyndon B. Johnson, was immediately sworn in as president. Harvey Oswald, a former Marine, was arrested for the assassination, but was shot and killed by Jack Ruby 2 days later. Both the FBI and the Warren Commission concluded that Oswald acted alone in the assassination. After Kennedy's death, Congress passed many of his initiatives, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Revenue Act of 1964. Despite his incomplete presidency, Kennedy is consistently ranked among the best U.S. presidents in the polls of historians and the public. On August 2, 1943, PTO 109, commanded by Kennedy, was engaged in military operations near New Georgia when it was destroyed by a Japanese destroyer. In this incident, Kennedy, who had pre-existing health issues, was further injured. Despite his own injuries, Kennedy helped rescue another wounded crew member. and swam 3 miles in the ocean to reach an island. For this courageous act, he received the Navy and Marine Corps Medal. During his service in World War II, Kennedy also earned the Purple Heart, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal. He was honorably discharged from service in early 1945, a few months before Japan surrendered. Years later, in May 2002, during an exploratory trip to the Solomon Islands, remnants of PT-109 were discovered. Lee Harvey Oswald claimed that he did not shoot anyone and alleged that he was being used as a patsy. He arrested that the photograph showing him with the rifle was fake, and his face had been superimposed onto someone else's body. Due to his death, his innocence or guilt was never proven in a court of law. Some critics argued that Oswald had no role in this assassination. 5 days after Oswald's death, the new president, Lyndon B. Johnson, formed the Warren Commission to further investigate the assassination. This commission concluded that Oswald acted alone in the murder. Subsequent investigations in the 1970s by the House Select Committee on Assassinations also confirmed Oswald as the assassin, but suggested he may have been part of a conspiracy to kill the president. Kennedy praised Hitler in his memoirs. According to a new German-language book that extracts the future president's memoirs, John F. Kennedy admired Hitler in his youth and felt that fascism was right for Germany. This belief led to speculation that his assassination was orchestrated by Jewish lobbies in America.